Hello again, my dear friends. Today we will start Unit 3A. The title is Race Across Miami. Vocabulary and Speaking, Transportation. In Paris, can you think of 4 different forms of public transportation in town and cities in your country? Can you give me just some feedbacks and write some answers for yourself and just represent them? Yeah, maybe your possible answer is they're like taxi, bus, subway, or bike. Yeah, it will be acceptable. But here we have public transportation on page 155. I want to invite you directly go toward this page that we're going to give you a huge range of transportation. Yeah, we are on page 155. Transportation, public transportation in vehicles. Match the words in picture. Okay, on the left we have some words like bus, freeway, light rail, platform, scooter, and subway. Of course, the British, the underground, train, truck, van. Here you should do the practice and write down the number of these photos. On the right, just 9 photos are available. On the left, next to the box. And then don't forget, just send me your, the answers. Compare via the links that it is written at the start of these videos on Instagram and Telegram, which is Body Language School. On the road, here the green box. Maybe it's gonna be important for you. Compound nouns are 2 nouns together, where the first noun describes the second one, like child sit, a sit for a child, a bus stop, a place for buses to stop. In compound nouns, the first noun is stressed more strongly than the second one. Here is a tip. There are many compound nouns related to the road to travel. So here we have a lot of words like build, camera, crash, hour, jam, lane, light, limit, stand, station, ticket, walk, work, zone. So here we have some words that we will just write down these words on a blank here. Then of course here we have a huge exercise which is concluded 14 words that you will fill in the blank here. So let me just help you to fill in the blank here. Number 1 is bike lane. Number 2, car crash. 3, crosswalk. 4, gas station. 5, it's gonna be parking ticket. In number 6, pedestrian zone. Number 7, road work. Number 8, rush hour. Number 9, seatbelt. Number 10, speed camera. 11, speed limit. 12, taxi stand. 13, traffic light. And 14, traffic jam. Yeah. And on the right here we have how long does it take? How long does it take? It takes about an hour to get from, for example, Princeton to New York City by train. It took me more than an hour to get to work yesterday. How long does it take you to get to school? It means that how much time you spend for doing that job. Yeah, for example, from point A to point B, how much time does it take? We say use take plus a person plus time to get to talk about the duration of a trip. So exactly like this you can here find in the examples. But the next part is read the information box about and ask and answer a question with a partner. Now you want just to answer this. Suppose that nowadays you go to your work, your school. How do you get to work at school? How do you get to work or school means that, for example, by car, on food. How How long does it take? For example, 25 minutes or 1 hour or more. And number 2, how long does it take to get from your house to the center of a town? So that will be just your idea and your answer. So the next part is exactly the phrasal verbs. Learn these phrasal verbs connected with transportation and travel. They set off at 7 in the morning to try to avoid the traffic. Set off means leave on a trip. Yeah, that was a very important phrasal verbs that I definitely suggest you to use in your speaking and maybe in your writings. I arrived at 8:15. Do you think you could pick me up at the station? It means that go somewhere in a car and get him or her. And of course, the next one is, I got on a wrong bus and I ended up on the opposite side of town. Find yourself in a place, situations that you didn't expect. Yeah? We're running out of gas. Let's stop at the next gas station. Finish your supply of something. Watch out or look out. You're going to crash. Be careful or pay attention to something dangerous. Maybe most of you are complaining that Mr. Purdash, why not? Why, for example, don't you translate the meaning and phrase or give some definitions? You need that. I want to suggest you to directly go towards your language dictionary. That's just enough to, for the phrasal verbs that you just combine of a verb and preposition. Just if you type this complete phrasal verbs on your language dictionary, it really gives you a huge definition of these phrasal verbs. If not, you will write just the first verbs in. When you study more and more, you can find exactly this phrasal verbs. I will want you to do more practice on your language dictionary because it is really helpful for you to work with it, because it really gives you more opportunity and more example about one related words and even idioms, and more you can find it. And of course here they did a phonology workshops that was just on the internet or online, maybe back in college, and you can even supply, just buy that pack and you can understand exactly. In this phonology workshops, not only I did tell about the phonology, phonetics, the pronunciation, but also I did extremely give a wide vision about how to work with dictionaries. And of course, I did explain language as usual. So I really want to come back to the main page. So here we are, it's that the pronunciation part. Here we have 3 symbols. The first one is sh, the second one is j, and the third one is ch. And of course here we've got just a bunch of words that you will write down those words in the correct columns. Then I will play you the listening to find out exactly, check the answers. Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hour. Sh.
Jazz. J.
Chess. Ch.
2.4.
Shower. Sh.
Jazz. J.
Chess. Ch.
Hour. Sh. Crash. Rush. Station.
Jazz. J. Bridge. Dangerous. Traffic jam.
Chess. Ch. Adventure. Catch. Each.
2.5.
Shower. Sh. Crash. Rush. Station.
Jazz. J. Bridge. Dangerous. Traffic jam.
Chess. Ch. Adventure. Catch. Each.
2.5.
So, I did polite listening and you'll find interesting answers. I will want to give you some information about pronunciation notes. And of course, here I just have just one brush to write exactly the notes that I will want to tell you here. Here we have three consonants that you know here. The consonant sh, j, and ch. Yeah. These three consonant sounds are often confused by some students, English learner. I mean, here they have just most of the time this is pronounced sh, always pronounced sh, like shower, ship. And maybe in some situation like tion, it pronounced shen, yeah, shen, like station. So the next one, j, it is written like this. It is always pronounced j. And the next one is ch is always pronounced ch. Like words like the chess, yeah. But can also be pronounced sh in some words, mainly of French origin words like machine, yeah. Here, for most of the time it pronounced ch, but in some words like machine, it pronounced sh. Machine, not machine, machine. It is also sometimes pronounced k and worked like chemistry. Here we have another word which is chemistry, yeah. And words like chemistry, ch is pronounced k, chemistry, yeah. This is the notes that I really want to paraphrase for you. You can just pause the video here and write it down, or I don't know, maybe write on your notes. So we really want just to continue, yeah. Look at the words and the columns. What are the typical spelling for the sounds? Yeah, you can, for more information, you can just go to page sound bank, page 167. But in next part, I'm in 2.6 here. Here we have listened to the pairs of words. Can you hear the difference? Practice, think them. It is so easy. In part F and G is 2.7. Listen, circle the words you hear. In part G 2.8, listen and write 5 sentences. So I really, I will want just to pull out 2.6 for you first of all. So directly go toward the listening parts.
1. A.
cheap,
B.
jeep,
2. A.
chain,
B.
Jane,
3. A.
choke,
B.
joke,
4. A.
ship,
B.
chip,
5. A.
shoes,
B.
choose,
6. A.
wash,
B.
watch,
1.
jeep,
2.
chain,
3.
joke,
4.
chip,
5.
shoes,
6.
watch,
2.7.
So as it just say that words that are underlined for you to find the answers. The next part is 2.8. Listen and write 5 sentences. That's gonna be so easy. I really want to play it for you. So
1.
Do you like potato chips?
2.
I'm going to wash it.
3.
You choose.
4.
Don't joke about it.
5,
Is it cheap?
So, you know that here just some sentences are produced in, let me just write for you some important words that maybe confuse you. Do you like potato chips? Yeah, it is chips. Number one, it is chips. Yeah, potato chips. Number two, I'm going to wash it. Wash. It is exactly this word, not anything else. 3, you choose. Choose, yeah? And number 4, don't joke about it. Joke. Number 5, is it cheap? This cheap is main things here. So that what you see answers and keywords that produce here. We want just to start the reading. Reading and listening. You are going to read about the race that car shows Top Gear organized across the U.S. state of Florida. Read the introduction and answer the question. So before you want to do that kind of things, I will want to give you good solutions. Before, first of all, just study a question, underline the keywords to find out exactly what the question wanted to ask you. Here, let me just help you to find exactly the keywords for questions. Let me just zoom in. Excuse me, a little bit blurs, and after some second, we'll get more better the resolution of the screen. So let me just find my marker here. Where do they have to go from? Where to? Okay, where do they have to go from? Where to? That are the keywords. What are the 3 methods of transportation? 3 method transportation. Which one do you think will be the fastest? So the fastest and the reason why. 4. In what order do you think the other 2 will arrive? In what order do you think 2 will arrive and why? There are the keywords that you should just keep in your mind during the text that you study. Maybe you will find exactly the answer. So here we have the reading. Let me just invite you to the readings here. Top Gear challenge. First, that I will want to read the text for you and just somehow elaborate the text for you. Then we will want to check together the answer. So, Top Gear challenge. What's the fastest way to get across Florida? On Top Gear, a very popular TV series about cars and driving, they decided to organize a race across Florida to find the quickest way across a busy state. The idea was to start from Miami on a southwestern part of the tip of Florida and finish the race at the southernmost point of the U.S. Key West, a trip of 160 miles. 3 possible forms of transportation were chosen: a motorboat, a car, and a combination of transportation. One of the show's hosts. Root took a motorboat, and his colleague Adam Farah took the car. Tanner first took different kind of transportation. His trip involved getting a taxi to the airport where flown seaplane. Then he rented a scooter. They set off from Jones Boat Yard on the Miami River. So let's answer the questions together to work more better. Question number 1. Where do they have to go from? Where to? They go from Jones Boat Yard in Miami River to southernmost point on a U.S. Key West. Yeah. The second one. What are 3 methods of transportation? A motorboat, a car, and a combination of transportation, including a taxi, an airplane, and a scooter. Yeah. 3 and 4 is exactly about your opinion, your suggestions. That exactly what do you think about that kind of things. I will want you to create for you a kind of exercise task to find out exactly your imaginations, your answer, your own idea about this question number 3, number 4, and send via the links that you got with us at your language schools. Instagrams and Telegrams are exactly 2 applications, platforms that we use mostly nowadays. So we will want to go to the next page. It is part B. Now we're about the trips by motorboat and car. Do you still think your prediction in 3A are right? In part 3, read the 2 trips again and answer the questions with R, Rutledge, A, Adam. Here is the answers that we will want to do that kind of things together. So here is the text that I will want read for you. Rutledge on a motorboat. Ready? His trip began on Miami River for first hour. There was a speed limit of 7 miles an hour because of the unforced new wake zone on the river. Once the boat passed through Base Camp Bay and then under the Rickenbacker Bridge, he entered open water. Rutledge increased the boat's speed over 90 miles an hour and made up the time he lost on Miami River. Approximately 60 miles from the finish line, Rutledge was ahead of Adam and Tanner, but he had to stop for gas if he wanted to reach the finish line in Key West. In 15 minutes, it took to refuel the boat that then passed Rutledge in a car and took to a light. Once Rutledge was back on open water, there were a lot of back waves, but it was able to pass Adam near 7 Mile Bridge just outside of the Key West. Unfortunately for both Rutledge and Adam, Tanner flew over both of them in a seaplane at about the same time. Now Tanner was in a bad position to win, as Fraser was only miles from the finish line and Key West who would win. So that was one paragraph, and the second one's that I will want for you. I read for you as Adam in a car. Let me just make it bigger to better reading. Adam started off okay. He wasn't driving fast because he was going to speed limit. However, after an hour, Adam decided that he was going too slowly. He increased his speed to 75 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. As Adam passed through a small town, he was stopped by the police. They were very angry that Adam was speeding, and it means that Adam lost many valuable minutes. Another problem Adam had was that his GPS, was programmed to give direction in Spanish instead of English. This made finding his way to the Key West difficult. As Adam finally approached the Key West, the traffic was getting worse. He was worried about getting stuck so close to the finish line, only 3 miles to go. We finished exactly 2 texts here. That was, very attractive. So, the question on part B and C, I will want to zoom in for you just in a second. You take a look and find answers. I don't really want to post the videos, and then we will directly go toward the answer here. So, don't forget, it is part B and C for readings. So, in part B, that you will just say that your prediction before that you did at the start of the reading was true or not. I really want you to connect with me, just send your voice messages through the Radio Language Schools Instagram or Telegrams, and I will respond to your answers. But the answer for this 6 sentences here about who find it. So let me just write it down for you, help you to write it down exactly. 1. who went much faster in a later part of his trip. It is Routledge, yeah. And the second one is that who did some illegal? It is Adam. So 3. Who went more slowly in a later part of his trip? It is number 3. It is Adam too. Yeah. Number 4. Had to stop for more gas. It is number 4. Routledge. Yeah. And number 5. Couldn't understand the direction spoken by the GPS. Who? Number 4. Vetted. And now number 5. It is Adam. And number 6. It is who was in a lead for most of the race. It is Routledge. Yeah. The answer is exactly this that I did right for you. That I really want you can concentrate more and more to find exactly the answer here. So the next part, look at the highlighted verbs and verb phrases where the part or figure add their meaning from context. That you could let me just suggest you exactly whenever that you've got some problems with the finding of the answers, directly go towards your Langman dictionary. 2.9. Now listen to what happened to Tanner. Follow his route on a map. So I will want to play this for you to find exactly more about this. Let me just zoom on about this photos here. Yeah. 2.9.
Tanner took a taxi from the boatyard to the airport where the seaplane was leaving from. It took 45 minutes to get from the boatyard to the airport. Once he got on the seaplane, Tanner quickly made up the time he spent riding in the taxi. With the plane flying close to 100 miles an hour, Tanner caught up to Rutledge and Adam near 7 Mile Bridge. After landing at the airport in Key West, Tanner rented a scooter for the last 3 miles of the race. Just a few more minutes until he arrived at the southernmost point of the U.S.
Yeah, listen again.
2.9.
Tanner took a taxi from the boatyard to the airport where the seaplane was leaving from. It took 45 minutes to get from the boatyard to the airport. Once he got on the seaplane, Tanner quickly made up the time he spent riding in the taxi. With the plane flying close to 100 miles an hour, Tanner caught up to Rutledge and Adam near 7 Mile Bridge. After landing at the airport in Key West, Tanner rented a scooter for the last 3 miles of the race. Just a few more minutes until he arrived at the southernmost point of the U.S.
Yeah, listen again. Of course, it's very important
2.9.
listening for you.
Tanner took a taxi from the boatyard to the airport where the seaplane was leaving from. It took 45 minutes to get from the boatyard to the airport. Once he got on the seaplane, Tanner quickly made up the time he spent riding in the taxi. With the plane flying close to 100 miles an hour, Tanner caught up to Rutledge and Adam near 7 Mile Bridge. After landing at the airport in Key West, Tanner rented a scooter for the last 3 miles of the race. Just a few more minutes until he arrived at the southernmost point of the U.S.
So what is the answer? Let me just check exactly it is recorded or not. Tanner took a taxi from the boatyard to the airport. So the boatyard is exactly, let me just make a better to what exactly. Yeah. From boatyard, took a taxi to the airport. From this point, took a taxi to the airport. Okay. To the airport where the seaplane was leaving from. The seaplane exactly here to leave from. And after landing at the airport in Key West, he rented a scooter. Okay, he just come until the Key West, yeah, and rent a scooter on the last 3 miles. For the last 3 miles, rented a scooter, yeah. So the race to arrive at the southernmost point of the U.S. That was just the answers. Yeah. And with a partner, write down the order in which you now think the three people arrived. Now listen to what happened with the order that did they arrive in. I want to play this listening for you first and try to understand what the question wants to get from you.
Rutledge Wood, who had traveled in the boat, ran from the Key West boatyard to the streets of Key West. After running for a few minutes in the heat, he hailed a taxi, which brought him to the southernmost marker in Key West and the U.S. Unfortunately, Adam and Tanner were already standing next to the marker. Rutledge couldn't believe it. He looked at the other men who were standing nearby laughing. It turns out that Adam, traveling in the Lotus Evora, had reached the Key West marker just seconds before Tanner arrived on his rented scooter. Adam's car had won, which is a good thing, because Top Gear is, after all, a program about cars. Tanner's combination of taxi, seaplane, and scooter arrived second, several minutes before Rutledge, who ended his boat trip with a ride in a taxi.
So, if you think that it is a little bit hard, you can play the listening at home more and more, or just play the little 2.7 time in a video again and again. But do your best for the best understanding of the listening with the answer. The first person who arrived was Adam by car. The second one was Tanner, taxi, airport, scooter, I'll tell you. And Rutledge is about motorboat. And the next page is about the grammar, comparative and superlatives. So here we have a grammar about comparative and superlatives. So the grammar bank is 136 grammar bank 3A. Let me just, before that, I really want to help you to find the answers. I will tell you the grammar about this topic. Here is the grammar bank 136 comparative and superlatives. Comparative and superlatives, adjectives and adverbs. Comparing two people, play, things, etc. But first, I will want to give you some information. First, don't forget, I want to read this part for you. Then I read the examples. Yeah, the example is here. Let me just, again, tell you exactly what I'm going to do. Read number 1, then the example number 2. Okay, so 1. We use comparative adjective to compare two people, places, things, etc. The first part, regular comparative adjective spelling rules: old, older, big, bigger, easy, easier, modern, more modern, difficult, more difficult. Irregular comparative adjectives like good, better, bad, worse, far, farther, further. One-syllable adjective ending in ed, like bored, more bored, stressed, more stressed, tired, more tired. So the example is, my sister is a little taller than me. San Francisco is more expensive than Chicago. This test is less difficult than the last one. Olive oil is better for you than the butter. So the second one, we can also use not as plus is, adjective as, to make comparisons. Let me just give the example. So new sofa isn't as comfortable as the old one. I don't have as many books as I used to. So object pronouns do not do tips here. Object pronouns me, him, etc. after then and as. After then or as, they can use an object pronouns like me, him, her, or a subject pronouns he, I, he, she, etc. plus auxiliary verbs. Look at the examples. She's taller than me, or she's taller than I am. Not she's taller than I. Don't forget, these kind of information that maybe you just include in your speaking is not true. So she's taller than me, or she's taller than I am. It is not true to say she's taller than I. She's taller. Let me just pick up the marker here. Than I. It is completely false. Don't forget that kind of things. They're not as busy as us, or they're not as busy as we are. You can't say they're not as busy as we. The same as, it's exactly the most important things that most of the students can use for better kind of scorings that they get in IELTS. To use the same as to say that two people play things etc. are identical. Her dress is the same as mine. It's very good kind of usage of that kind of grammar style, really. Recommend to students exactly at the kind of American English 5, 3, or 4 levels to find out more for better, high prestigious speaking. Next part, comparing to actions. We use comparative adverbs to compare to actions. Okay, that was kind of another grammars. Like just regular comparative adverbs. It is adverbs. Don't forget, it is adverbs. Here we have adjectives. Let me just tell you, adjectives. But on the next we have adverbs. So the grammar is exactly the same, but about adjective and adverbs. So we use comparative adverbs to compare two actions. Regular comparative adverbs. Spelling rules. Fast, faster. Slowly, more slowly. Carefully, more carefully. Irregular comparatives. Well, better, badly, worse. The example, my father derives faster than me. You walk more quickly than I do. Atlanta played worse today than last week. So the second one, we can also use not as plus adverb as to make comparisons. So the example, Max doesn't speak English as well as his wife does. I don't earn as much as my boss. So superlatives. So before you start, I really want to read for you just the example in the white box. Let me just introduce a little bit about the thing here. We use superlative adjectives and adverbs to compare people, things, or action with all their groups. It means that compare more than two, okay? And that one kind of groups, more than two, maybe 3, 4, more and more. So form superlative like comparative with the est and instead of er, and most, less, and instead of more, less. Okay, that was just the formula that I had to tell you before in the previous sessions. And of course, if you want to study more about that kind of videos, I did fully equip the pack of the grammar in use that was available on our Instagram and Telegram that you can buy it. The next one, we usually use double for superlatives, but you can also use possessive adjectives. It means like my best friend, their most famous thing. We often use superlative with present perfect plus ever. It is the best book I have ever read. So the example, according to exactly the definition that I did do for you, Kevin is the tallest player on a team. Tokyo is the most expensive city in the world. The small bag is the least expensive. Lucy is the best student in the class. Who dresses the most stylishly in your family? That's a word we've ever played. So the next is in after superlatives. Use in, not of, before places after a superlative. It is the longest bridge in the world, not afterwards. Don't forget, it is exactly the point that maybe some of the students made mistake. It's the best beach in Florida, not off Florida. So that was just the grammar completely that I teach for you about this grammars that I really want to find this video helpful for you. But don't forget, if you find it a little bit difficult, you can just play back and write the notes and find more example. And even the complementary course that I will find important about this course that I teach for you on these virtual classes or online. I did before I suggest you just, if you can't understand more of this, you can buy the pack of the grammar used that I made videos in Farsi, not in English, and you can just search on Google. So let me go to the main page. So read the sentences. Are the highlighted phrases right or wrong? Write the check or in the negative next to the multiple next to them and correct the wrong sentences. They are really did it for you, but yeah. Let me just make the book bigger, as I really want to help you to find the answers. It's completely fit in a screen. What's the quicker way to get around Miami? So is it true or not? It is false. Yeah. What's the quicker way to get around Miami? It is the quickest way. Don't forget, the quickest way to get around Miami. So the second one is driving is more boring than going by train. It is completely true. And the third one is the boat was almost as fast than the bike. So it is false. Don't forget, as fast as the bike. Okay. So number 4 is West Hollywood is the same distance from Los Angeles as South Guest. It is true completely. Yeah. Number 5. There aren't as much trains as there were before on the line. Number 5, it is false. As many trains as, okay? As many trains as, yeah. There were before on his line. Number 6 is, it was the more exciting trip I've ever taken. It is number 7, it is completely... number 6 is false exactly. It was the more exciting trip I've ever taken. That was, the correct one is the most exciting trip. The most exciting trip. Don't forget the most exciting trip. Let me just write it down here. The most excited trip. And number 7 is, the worst time of day to travel in New York City is between 7:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. It is completely true. And 8, women drive more careful than men. It is more carefully than men. Okay? More carefully, L-Y, than men. Okay? I can just wait for seconds to write down exactly or take a screenshot about the notes that I did for you. So that was the grammar. Let me just go toward the pronunciations to point about more important things that I really find it helpful here. Pronunciation linking. We often link words together in English, especially when we speak fast, we link words. So in some circumstances, situations that we follow that kind of important things. 1, then a word ends in a consonant sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound, like more exciting. Don't forget here, of course, we write E, but it is not pronounced. We said more. So R is consonant, E is vowel. Don't say because here it is written E, it is vowel. No, it is written, but it is not pronounced. So the second one is, let me just make it the screen more better. When a word ends in consonant sound and the next word begins with the same consonant sound, like just fastest train, T. So double T here, just mixed together with it, fastest train, like this. And the third one, when a word ends in T or D, and the next word begins with T or D. Biggest dog. Exactly T and D has exactly the same place of articulations that they can have the same characteristic of feature of phonology. دوستان من این بخش خدمتتون فارسی توضیح میدم. ت و د یک واژگاه آوایی دارن. دقت بفرمایید هنگامی که شما تلفظ میکنید ت و میگید د، هر دو از یک بخش از دهان تولید میشن. بنابراین چون همجنس هستن ت یا دی که به هم وصل میشن میتونن به طور کاملا سریع توی تلفظ لحاظ بشن. که در این باره ما یک کارگاه آواشناسی براتون در نظر گرفتیم. یک کارگاهی هستش که 70% تخفیف داره، نه تنها تو فضای مجازی بلکه از کلاس‌های حضوری و گروهی که شما تو کانال زبان قدیر دارید میتونید از این کارگاه مجازی ما استفاده کنید با 70% تخفیف که توضیح کامل و تشریح تمامی این نکات براتون لحاظ شده. So, about 2.4, then listen and repeat the sentences, try to mark words and copy the rhythms. And of course here, let me just find it. Yeah, that was just exactly the same thing I really want to play for you. It is so important, you know, whenever it is, if you want to have a very fast and fluent speaking, you can use this pattern. So, I will play that for you.
1,
Riding a motorcycle is more exciting than driving.
2,
The fastest train only takes an hour and a half.
3,
It's more difficult to drive at night than during the day.
4,
My father's worse at driving than my mother.
5,
The most dangerous road in my town is the freeway.
So that was good. If I were in your shoes, I played more and more that part of 2.14 and try just to, you know, repeat more and more because whenever you do more practice and you're learning, especially in pronunciation and speaking, it really will be helpful for you. So the next word is talk to a partner for each group of three things. Compare. I'm using a bold adjective for one beside. Which is the most dangerous, and then compare the two, said why. Here, talk to a partner. Let me just find it here. It is exactly the listening, excuse me. That was just kind of a speaking here. Talk to a partner for each group of three things. Compare them using the bold adjective. Dangerous, easy, relaxing, difficult, boring, like this. For first persons, decide which is the most dangerous and then compare the other two. Say why. Dangerous, riding a bike, riding a motorcycle, driving. Easy, learning to drive, learning to ride bike, learning to ride a horse. Relaxing, flying, traveling by train, driving. Difficult, sleeping on a train and sleeping in a plane, sleeping on a bus. Boring, being stuck in a traffic jam, waiting at the airport, waiting for a bus. Like this, you can just make some sentences like this and send your voice messages to me. I think riding a bike is most dangerous because sometimes drivers don't notice bike riders. Riding a motorcycle is more dangerous than driving. So, I passionately wait for your voice messages that you will send me via Instagram and Telegram of Qadir Language School. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Listening. Read the text and then talk to a partner. Which of these things do you or people you know do when you're driving? 2. Which do you think are most dangerous? Number them 1 to 3. And which one do you think is the least dangerous? So, if I'm not mistaken, it will be written here that dangerous. Which of the things is the most and least dangerous when you're driving a car? A car magazine tested drivers and driving simulators. Drivers had to drive in a simulator and do the things on a list below. Eating or drinking, talking on a cell phone, setting or adjusting GPS, listening to your favorite music, listening to music you don't know, sending and receiving text messages, doing your hair, putting on makeup, doing your hair or putting on makeup, like this. So, which one do you think is more dangerous? So, I will want, because believe me or not, here we have a very important expert to talk about that. Some information that will be most dangerous things that maybe that you will do in your drivings that are really helpful. So, I just want to play if I'm not mistaken, it's 2.15. Now listen to the say of the expert number, the adjective 1 to 7 for your top 3 right. Okay. As I play that part, you are going to let me just I made some mistakes in my filming parts. You are going to write 1, 2, 3 in a box here. Yeah, ready? I will play the listening for you.
Tonight's program, we talked to Tom Dixon, who is an expert on road safety. Tom, new technology like GPS devices has meant new distractions for drivers, hasn't it?
That's right, Nikki. But it isn't just technology that's the problem. Car drivers do a lot of other things while they're driving that are dangerous and that can cause accidents. Remember, driver distraction is the #1 cause of road accidents.
Now, I know you've been doing a lot of tests with simulators. According to your tests, what's the most dangerous thing to do when you're driving?
The tests we did in a simulator showed that the most dangerous thing to do while you're driving is to send or receive a text message. This is incredibly dangerous, and it is, of course, illegal. In fact, research done by the police shows that this is more dangerous than drinking and driving.
Why is that?
Well, the reason is obvious. Many people use 2 hands to text, one to hold the phone and the other to type, which means that they don't have their hands on the wheel, and they're looking at the phone, not at the road. Even for people who can text with one hand, it's still extremely dangerous. In the tests we did in the simulator, 2 of the drivers crashed while texting.
And which is the next most dangerous?
The next most dangerous thing is to set or adjust your GPS. This is extremely hazardous too, because although you can do it with one hand, you still have to take your eyes off the road for a few seconds.
And number 3?
Number 3 was putting on makeup or doing your hair. In fact, this is something that people often do, especially women, of course, when they stop at traffic lights. But if they haven't finished when the lights change, they often continue when they start driving again. It's that fatal combination of just having one hand on the steering wheel and looking in the mirror, not at the road.
And number 4?
In 4th place, there are 2 activities that are equally dangerous. One of them is making a phone call on a cell phone. Our research showed that when people talk on the phone, they drive more slowly, which can be just as dangerous as driving fast. But their control of the car gets worse because they're concentrating on the phone call and not on what's happening on the road. But the other thing, which is just as dangerous as talking on your cell phone, is eating and drinking. In fact, if you do this, you double your chance of having an accident because eating and drinking always involves taking at least one hand off the steering wheel. And the thing that's most worrying here is that people don't think of this as a dangerous activity at all, and it isn't even illegal.
And in 5th, well, actually 6th place, it must be listening to music, but what kind?
Well, it's listening to music you know.
Oh, that's interesting.
We found in our tests that when drivers were listening to music they knew and liked, they drove either faster or slower, depending on whether the music was fast or slow.
So fast music made drivers drive faster.
Exactly. And a study in Canada also found that if the music was very loud, then drivers' reaction time was 20% slower. If you are listening to very loud music, you're twice as likely to go through a red light.
So the safest of all the things on the list is to listen to music we don't know.
Exactly. If we don't know the music, then it doesn't distract us. In this part of the tests, all drivers drove safely.
So that was just the listening. I find it very helpful. Yeah. The next part is speaking. Look at this statement below and decide whether you agree or disagree. Check The ones you agree with in multiple next to the ones you disagree with, think about your reason. Okay, here is the topic. I want you to prepare yourself with your voices to send to me. Did I write down not only your grammatical mistakes but also your pronunciation, lexical mistakes. So, slow driver causes more accident than fast drivers. People who drink and drive should lose their driver's license for life. Speed cameras do not stop accidents. Drivers who are over 70 are as dangerous as young drivers. Bike riders should have to wear helmets. The minimum age for riding a motorcycle should be 25. The speed limit on freeways should be lower. Here is the topic that I want you to send your voice messages. Have discussion about this topic and speak for more and more and more, because not only speaking about this topic can increase your pronunciation and fluency, but also it gives you an opportunity to play with your grammatical, new words, whatever that you learned before, that you have learned before, to gather, mix them, to represent them. Don't forget, I will wait for your speaking. And the last part is agreeing and disagreeing. You can use I agree, I don't agree with this, or with John, I think, I don't think you're right, or that's right, I completely or totally agree or disagree. And the writing ones is about page 115. You can do this, but that kind of writing is very easy. We have another online classes about IELTS writing. I will demonstrate everything from A to Z. There, you can join us. Enjoy your learning. See you then.